A long time ago, in a Chuck E. Cheese far away, there stood an arcade cabinet. Not just any arcade cabinet, but a cabinet of the Simpsons arcade game. The Simpsons was one of my favorite childhood shows, so this arcade game really drew me in. I couldn't tell you how many tokens I would spend just to get a little bit further and further into the game. The game was a bit unfair at times, but that's how arcades made their money. The Simpsons arcade game was developed and published by Konami. Fast forward to 2010, and the game was available for purchase and download on the PlayStation 3. For this review, I'm going to focus on the PlayStation 3 version, but I'll also touch on the arcade cabinet as well. All that being said, let's talk about the story.
Before I get into the story though, I should mention that the Simpsons arcade game did get a port to MS-DOS as well as the Commodore 64. The DOS version is on the Abandonware website if you're curious about it. In addition to that, I wanted to give a shout out to DiggerandIndy over at longplays.org for some of the gameplay footage you see in this video. The story revolves around Homer literally running into Mr. Smithers right after Smithers robbed a jewelry store. The jewel that Smithers steals is thrown into the air and Maggie catches it in her mouth. And instead of just taking the jewel, Smithers grabs Maggie and runs away with her. I mean, hey, it's made by Konami, what do you expect? It's a classic arcade beat-em-up story. It's up to you to select one of the Simpsons and rescue her. Again, a classic beat-em-up story.
So as I mentioned previously, the player is able to select from anyone in the immediate Simpsons family. Each of the characters has their own method of attack, but I don't believe there's any differences in terms of the character's strength, defense, health, etc. The only thing of note is that some of the characters have weapons that, have a bit of range, whereas others, I guess namely just Homer, just uses his fists. So, are there any differences to note between the PlayStation 3 version and the arcade cabinet?
So, yes and no. It's still the same game, but right off the bat, you have different gameplay options to choose from. You can select the American version or the Japanese version. If you want to play the quarter-munching version from yesteryears, then the American version is a must. Otherwise, I would personally select the Japanese version. It seems fairer, to me at least. It provides you with more health pickups as well as delivers a few unique weapons, and it also dials down the difficulty a bit, in my opinion anyway. For example, the Japanese version has atom bombs to throw around, while the American version removes that and a lot of the health pickups. Either way, you'll probably lose all your lives before reaching the last stage, but it's okay because you have infinite quarters, or continues. You fight your way through 8 Springfield-related levels to get Maggie back from Smithers, each of them having a unique boss to fight. The bosses range from wrestlers to hot air balloons and even a kabuki warrior. All the levels are amazing. My favorite is the dream sequence in which you fight off things related to each of the Simpsons, like donuts, saxophones, and hazmat suits. The boss in this level is a bowling ball that shoots pins out of its mouth, because why not? Like most arcade beat-em-ups, all the bosses take a fair amount of damage before they go down, and this is especially true in the American version. There's also something that's been bugging me for years, and that's Marge's sprite animations. You may have noticed that if she swings her vacuum around enough that she may occasionally get her hair stuck in it. When she pulls the vacuum, her hair moves, revealing what look like to be bunny ears. These ears can also be seen if she's electrocuted. Apparently I'm not the only one who wondered about this, as there are countless articles that discuss this weird occurrence. Apparently Matt Groening initially thought that Marge could have bunny ears underneath her hair, similar to his characters from Life in Hell, Binky, Bongo, and Sheba. Apparently Matt wanted Marge to be a rabbit from his Life in Hell series, but it was deemed ridiculous and later forgotten about. Funny enough though, this little tidbit did make its way into the Simpsons arcade game. It's crazy how things work out.
It's also amazing how much you can discover about a game after so many years. For instance, I never knew you could use team attacks with all the characters. I guess I really did just play the arcade game by myself back in the day. The cabinet did probably have this information on it, as most cabinets did tell the players about the moves the characters could do, but I never noticed it for this game. One thing I'll note is that the Simpsons arcade game is even more fun if you can find other players. I mean, heck, 4 players can play at the same time. Let's see if I can find someone to play along. Ah. Alright, Rob, let's do this. You're not very good at this game.
The journey comes to a conclusion when the Simpsons reach the nuclear power plant. You finally confront Smithers and fight him in order to get Maggie back. You may have noticed that the eyes in the painting in the background have been watching the entire time. Once Smithers is defeated, it's time to face the final boss, spoiler alert, Mr. Burns? Sarcasm aside, I'm not entirely sure why Smithers wouldn't take the diamond from Maggie's mouth and run off with it. It's not like the Simpsons were after the diamond. I guess it makes about as much sense as Smithers wearing a cape and throwing bombs. Speaking of not making sense, we're treated to Mr. Burns piloting a giant mecha. This fight consists of multiple phases where his suit continually breaks down or transforms, and eventually you come face to face with the old man himself. No worries though, one punch takes him down.
Well, now for the most important question. Does the Simpsons arcade game still hold up today? I mean, I think so. It's a fun distraction that you can easily pick up whenever you're bored. It's still a fun game to play with friends or by yourself. Unfortunately, it's no longer available for the PlayStation 3, along with a lot of other games. A cabinet was released by Arcade1Up recently. Let's check to see how much it's going for. Let's get the old phone out. And well, that's a bit high. So I don't recommend paying that ridiculous price to play the Simpsons arcade game. But I do recommend giving the game a chance if you have a chance to try it out.
Quick editor's note, I did manage to find a playable version of the Simpsons arcade game for browsers. That's actually how I managed to record some of my own footage for this game review. A quick Google search provides many links to try. A warning though, the browser version is a bit CPU intensive for some setups. In any case, back to the review.
All that being said, I give the Simpsons arcade game 4 diamond pacifiers out of 5. I hope you enjoyed this month's review. As always, thank you for watching.